One murder every 30.5 minutes. One robbery every 1.7 minutes. One assault every 21.7 minutes. And over 85,000 active missing people. Crime happens anywhere and anytime. Thousands of unsolved cases causing time to stand still for its victims. The crime clock is ticking. The alarm has sounded. It's time for crime time.
It's time for crime time. Hello, everybody. It's time for crime time.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hi. We have a really different kind of story for you this week. And I ran across it a couple of days ago, and I thought everybody would be interesting. It's a really social media alarm has gone off. Woo! For this story. And I think everybody will want to hear what's going on. I have a little bit of background with the people involved with this case, and so I'll say a little bit about that too. But I want to I went through it and I tried to get as much fact as I could and cutting out a lot of the emotion. But I'm sure we're going to talk about it anyway to see what everyone else is talking about this case. And who I'm talking about is Andrea, and I'm not sure, is it Knabel, silent K, like Knudsen, or is it Knabel?
I think it might be silent K.
Okay, silent K. Yeah, so Andrea Knabel. She went missing August 13th, 2019 from Louisvillle, Kentucky. Now, her sister said they were communicating to each other, and then she walked out of the house looking to get a ride, and she went missing. Nobody knows where she's at, and we are getting close. This week will be like a month since she's been missing, and we don't know what's happened to her. But what is interesting is Andrea was actually a member of Missing in America, which is they do searches for people on, got a phone call, hang on. They want to talk to me. Let me turn that off. There we go. Missing America goes out and they search for people and they help people that are missing. And they said that Andrea was one of their members, that she had also volunteered to go out and search for people. And now she's missing. And because of that different aspect of it, we have the media picking up this story. Got the headlines there last week and the week before. Now it's kind of slowing down. Oh, I think what I saw this morning about her Facebook page had been taken down because trolls had been attacking it. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. But Nancy Schaefer, she's the founder of Missing in America, and she let everybody know that Andrea was missing. She was trying to get everybody out there and say, hey, let's find her. Let's see where she's at. And then we have Tracy Leonard, who's a private investigator. He joined the group. And he said, I think he knows Nancy from the past. And he's also trying to find Andrea. And he's been out there. I think he himself he's gathered up a $1,000 reward for any information on finding her. So everything seems to be going pretty good, pretty straightforward. And then the scuttlebutt starts coming up. There's all kinds of interesting things that everybody on social media is talking about. And one of them is the involvement with this story of Jessica Klein a few years back. Do you remember who Jessica Klein is?
A little bit. A young girl.
So she went missing from Utah back in, let me see if I got it written down in my notes here. Yeah, she went missing in Utah back in 1974. She was only like 7 years old, and she just vanished. No one has found her yet, except for several years ago, Nancy Schaefer, Missing in America, said she had found Jessica Klein as a grown woman, and Jessica Klein had reached out to her and said that she knows what happened to Ethan Patz and a couple other missing children. She had saw them, I believe she said she saw them get killed, and she had survived all these years. And she was going under the name of Michelle Hooper, and she was claiming to be Jessica Klein. And while the kicker of this whole thing, everybody was excited about this. So they're great, she's been found. Nancy said that she had DNA.
Several an answer to these other children that were missing, right?
Right,
okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Terry, go ahead.
Right, exactly. So Nancy said she has DNA that proves that Michelle is Jessica Klein. But what I thought was kind of different about this is that it seemed like Nancy had the scoop on this, so to speak. She was the only one that really knew about it. She was the one that had the DNA information. And where's the police on this? Why are they not talking? You know, anytime this has happened in the past, the police do the DNA, they get control of the case, and they're the ones that decide when it's going to be announced or how it's going to be announced. But Nancy was in control of the whole situation. So there was a lot of red flags going on. Well, it only took a few days before it came out that there was no official DNA and she was not Jessica Klein. And Nancy went up there and posted it up there and said, no, she's not who I thought she was. And then the social media started to go on her about the DNA, and a lot of that was pushed to the side. She had no real answers for it. Well, this is what I was told. This is what the police told me, which I find a little odd because I don't know why the police would have that information and give it to Nancy. I'm sorry, I don't really see why that would happen that way. It would go to the family then, and or would kept out of the public eye, depending on how they decided to handle this situation. And then that was about it. That was the end of that. And now we have...
You know, Jerry,
yeah, go ahead.
That's real interesting because most of the time they do not release this information to, sometimes it's difficult for the families to get, to protect the case and what's going on. It doesn't seem like that usually the authorities, whoever, whether it's the FBI or the police, it doesn't seem like they release this information. They will have a news conference or something where they release the information, what they can. I'm with you. That seems very, very, very odd.
Yeah, it was something to see. Yeah. Everybody was so excited thinking it was her.
That must be very disappointing when people expected that a person was found and they really weren't.
Yeah, for sure.
If there was any admission of it being a hoax or if it was only... Though that's what authorities told me, but I kind of don't buy the whole being so certain about the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't the FBI have been called in to handle this? At some point, it seems like the local authorities turned that over to the FBI, and so this is pretty big cases. You're talking about, three children's cases would have been solved, and the FBI wasn't involved? That just... very odd.
Yeah, it was.
That don't make sense.
No, it don't make sense. So now we have Andrea, who is also missing. There's a lot of questioning whether this is a hoax because of Nancy's involvement in it. And I went back and I did a little research, and I also found that Tracy Leonard, I mentioned that before, he's a private investigator, he's involved, so everybody has good thoughts about him and they trust him, so I'm sure. And also I found out that Dwight Mitchell of the Louisville Metro Police Department, he's involved with this too, so we do know that Andrea's missing, we just don't know where she is. So time just kind of clicks along, trying to figure out what's going on with this. Go ahead.
I was curious. I think you mentioned that there was a reward that the private investigator had raised $1,000 for information. I think that's awesome that he's taken the initiative in doing that. But I don't know, lady. This seems like a very low number to actually get people to come forward and give pertinent details. It just seems like normally that when you have a missing person and a reward, it seems like that amount is usually much higher.
Yeah.
Am I right? Something just seems...
Right, and it could be because of things that have happened in the past with the Missing in America. That might be why no one is donating to her reward.
Maybe they don't know what to believe.
Right, they don't know what to believe, and they also may not be sure where the money is going to. They might be worried about that too. They might think it's going to somebody's personal pockets instead of going to help her. So there's a post on here from Thomas Smith, who happens to be Nancy's ex-husband, a current husband. And he says, Danville police came to search my house for Andrea, the girl missing out of Louisville. The maid of honor at my wedding. I let them in. They came back 10 minutes later with warrant for my arrest. Shake my head. Child support. $6,000 bond. I'm at the jail now. I'm blanky blank. I try and try. You all. So evidently, the police went over to Thomas Smith, who is Nancy's current or ex-husband, and looking for Andrea at his house. And they did not find her there. So
interesting that it would come to law enforcement searching the spouse of a person at volunteers finding the missing, which, by the way, I think you mentioned that Andrea Knabel was also a volunteer with this organization. Mm-hmm. So the person initiating a lot of the, I guess maybe the original page on Facebook mm-hmm. is known as her friend and also coworker, like your volunteer peers together.
Closer than that, if she was what did you say, a bridesmaid in the wedding, so we're talking about pretty close friends.
Right. Hang on a second.
Ladies, they work together. They're also personal friends. They, she volunteers for the organization. What did you say, the missing persons in America?
Missing in America, yeah.
Missing in America, thank you. And that they all were close enough that she would be a bridesmaid in her wedding. So it seems like that these ladies are very close.
Yeah, it does. And then Thomas, he followed up later when he got out of jail. He said that I'm out and home. So this is the next day. He says, I'm out and home. He posted on social media. I have so much info, it ain't even funny. Folks that say that Andrea case is a scam should be ashamed of themselves. I know that Nancy is disliked. She goes about things the wrong way. Her attitude gets in her way constantly. She takes it way too personal when she's spoken about negatively. We had a rough marriage and shouldn't have put it on Facebook. That was her fault, also, if you ask me. But info about Andrea missing is going to rock y'all's world when it's released. So what does he know that he's not saying?
Maybe that's why police were suspicious.
Time alarm right there.
Right. And I'm thinking that maybe somebody called the police and tipped them off and said that Andrea was over at Thomas Smith's house. And maybe somebody with a vendetta, or maybe somebody actually saw her over there. We don't know which one it is.
Well, that would be, I would love to find that out. If anybody has that information, please let us know, because it's interesting.
Well, one thing I was going to say, that's why we're talking about this social media buzz, is that instead of the attention being on the missing person, it's surrounded by a lot of drama of, is this a valid missing persons case? And what are the basic facts? I just wanted to cover that Andrea Knabel is missing from Louisville, Kentucky since the early hours of August 13th, 2019. She's described as a white female with light brown hair, 5'7", around 190 pounds, last seen wearing a tank top and white shorts. Some of the basic information that I heard, which I don't know if police have verified, they say that she tried to call for a ride when leaving her sister's house, Erin Knabel. And maybe she had left upset. And there's questions of, well, who gave her a ride? Did she take an Uber or a Lyft? And I think if she did, they already checked out.
Mm-hmm. That's what I read, yeah.
Maybe she made it, which I'm curious, where was the destination? Anyway, they make a reference to where she was last seen. In a park area, or near the Audubon Park area. Anyways, the unfortunate things is by the middle of September, she would have been missing about a month. And instead of people having the basics and just simply sharing a flyer and pay attention to sightings, instead it's all the buzz on is she being hidden for a publicity stunt with this group to gain more, I don't know, followers or gain. I don't know if it was.
City.
Well, I don't know if it was the same gentleman that we were talking about, but